Pet lovers, thank you for joining Gina's Grooming Channel, and thank you for joining us on an episode of a walkthrough for ear hair plucking. Now, a walkthrough is where I sit with you and kind of talk through a procedure that I do in grooming that is usually either something a little complex, or maybe a little confusing, or maybe a little controversial. And I will say that ear hair plucking is the latter two. It is sometimes a little confusing, and it is a little controversial, but it is very important for dogs that need it. So let's go through. I'm going to introduce you to Gizmo. He's an adorable miniature schnauzer, and I'm going to give you guys a play-by-play of how I pluck and clean his ears. And I have completely unedited that film, so it's completely uncut from start to finish with Gizmo, so I can show you exactly what I'm doing. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to talk you guys through some of the questions that we have about ear hair plucking, which is what is it? Okay, what's the big deal about it, and why it's very important for many dogs. All right, guys, let's introduce you to Gizmo and take you through his ear hair plucking. Okay, lifting up the ear, I'm going to be looking at Gizmo's inside his ear. So this kind of, as we're looking at his ear and plucking through his ear, I want to talk about what ear hair plucking is. Now, ear hair plucking should not hurt. It is really when you're plucking very fine hair in pets and breeds and dogs that have excessive ear hair in their canal. And that the ear hair is very fine, very easy to pluck out. There is a difference, and this kind of goes into why it's a big deal for some dogs that do have ear hair in their canal, but it's very well established. And there are certain breeds that you shouldn't be plucking ear hair for. And even dogs that are supposed to have ear hair plucked in terms of their types of breed, some dogs don't need it at all. They're able to have air pass through their canal. They don't get infections through their life. So it's really done for dogs that have excessive ear hair, and that happens because of breeding toward a certain desire through hundreds of years of breeding, right? So the miniature schnauzer, something like a poodle, also has a lot of excessive ear hair, and you see fine ear hair in dogs like Malteses, in Shih Tzus, and a whole bunch of other dogs. But a lot of dogs have natural ear hair. It's well established and it does not interfere in the health of their ear. Okay, so what I just did here with Gizmo is I put in some ear powder. Well, this is going to give me grip. I just want to put just a little bit in, and I start my ear plucking with my fingers. I keep my nails pretty short for this, so that I can do a nice gentle pluck and really control how much I'm plucking out. And I'm only plucking in the canal as far as I can go deeply in. So I'm not going very deep. So only as comfortable as my fingers go. Okay. And then I'm doing plucking up. That's the direction in which I'm plucking. And that's going to make a big difference in how this hair comes out. How painful. It should not be painful at all. Now I'm following up now with my tweezers. I have some blunt edge tweezers, as you can see, and I'm not going very far, but just plucking up. Okay, that's the direction that makes a big difference to get that ear hair that is in the canal and can cause problems. Because the big deal is that if you don't pluck ear hair for dogs that need it, what can happen is that that ear canal gets blocked. So does not allow proper aeration. It can also lead to the improper balance of bacteria and yeast, which is supposed to have a healthy balance in the ear. Okay, also very important to maintain that. It can also hold on to debris and dirt, which can cause infections, and infections are very painful. Now, as you can see, I brought out my Bravura, my 5-in-1 clipper. I set it to my 10 because for schnauzers and certain breeds with a lot of hair in front of their ears, it's also really nice and helpful to be able to clipper out the hair around the ear opening there. And I'm very careful with the ear, making sure that I support it in the back. Right where I'm clipping there, there's a little flap on the side. But clipping down, this really helps for certain breeds like schnauzers. I usually do this for poodles too, that are really hairy around their ears, so that this just allows a little more aeration. So I pluck, and then for certain dogs, I clip around. I use my fingers and I use my tweezers to really get this ear nice and clean, because he comes to see me. Gizmo comes to see me about once a month, and every time I go into his ear, it is full of ear hair. So it needs to be done to make sure that his ear stays healthy. And as you can see, he is not disturbed by this whatsoever. At one point, he started snoring during his ear hair plucking. So now I'm taking out my cleaner, just showing you guys that I am you're going to be cleaning his ear. Just be careful if you guys see any sign of infection. That means redness, odor. You're not going to be plucking the ear hair. You are not going to be cleaning it. You're going to be saving the ear the way it is and calling your veterinarian. Okay, oh, there, we're zooming in. Nice, nice, clean ear, clean of the ear hair. Any excessive ear hair really allows that canal to breathe and keep a healthy environment for Gizmo. Okay. So again, do not pluck or clean if you see the ear is red or what looks to be an infection. I'll call your veterinarian because ear infections, if especially if left to fester, can become incredibly painful. And this can also last as a memory to your pet, so that in the future, when they need their ear hair plucked, they are not as amenable to it. So it's really important to keep this as a pleasant experience for dogs that need it. So just letting you know the big deal is if you're doing it wrong or you're doing it kind of the old-fashioned way with hemostats grabbing big chunks of hair, causing the dog's distress, or plucking when you're not supposed to when an ear is infected. That's when you're going to the vet and letting the vet take a culture of the ear so that they know how to treat it. Usually takes a round of antibiotics and ear drops to get rid of an infection, especially if it's advanced. We don't want it to get that way. We want to make sure that we are preventing any problems from happening inside the ear. So this is Gizmo's right ear. Got some sticky hair here. Again, very fine, very easy to pluck out. I'm just using a little bit of pressure with my fingers in between my index and my thumb, going only as deep as is comfortable, paying attention to how Gizmo is reacting. And as you can see, he is not reacting at all. He's very comfortable with this process because we're doing it on a regular basis. We're doing it gently and using a little bit of tweezers to pull out small bits at a time. The tweezers I do not use to pull out big chunks. Some of the chunks, like especially for poodles, go really deep down the canal. We want to get it right there at the entrance of the ear canal, never pushing the tweezer down or anything, a Q-tip or any type of object, including your fingers, down the canal. It's very important that we keep our pets safe and make sure that we don't push dirt or hurt the canal in any way. Now, in terms of why it's important for dogs, I just want to share with you guys a few stories that there are dogs that have come to me, and if they don't get their ear hair plucked on the regular, they develop massive ear infections where their ears are sopping very, very bad with moisture, very, very painful. So, this is very normally on those situations. Veterinary recommended that we keep their ears free of hair and clean on a regular basis. And of course, with Gizmo here, just going to do a little bit of clipping. Make sure because he's a miniature schnauzer, get that excess hair. You can see all that excess hair. And just be careful you're going in the right direction when you are clipping. You want to be clipping toward the edges of the ear. And then when you have a base basically in the front of the ear, go downwards. And then as you are clipping around the leather of the ear, you want to be supporting the ear and clipping toward the ear leather, the outside edges. And this is going to make sure that it's a safe clip. Watch that little edge there on the back end of an ear. Let's check and see how we look with little Gizmo. He is very good. We're going to go and clean his ears with a veterinary recommended ear cleaner. Okay, soak my cotton. I buy my cotton not in balls, but in a roll, so I can grab how many pieces I need. For ear cleaning, again, never go from one ear to the other with the same cotton ball. Only go as comfortable as your fingers can go around and in the canal, so not in deep into the canal, just enough to clean it. Look at that. It looks and smells amazingly fresh, and I'm a little OCD. Getting those last little bits, making sure that Gizmo has a really nice, aerated, and clean ear. And there he is, such a good boy. And of course, we want positive reinforcement with our babies. If you are allowed to give a treat to your puppies, make sure it's nothing that they're allergic to and reward them for being so good. All right, guys, thank you for letting me take you through a walkthrough, step by step, and unedited walkthrough of how I do ear plugging on a miniature schnauzer Gizmo who has really, really furry ears and needs to have those ear hairs plucked gently and effectively. Guys, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to put them down below. We are listening. If you have any questions on the products that I use for my ear cleaning and my ear hair plucking, I will add that in the description, add those in the description below for you. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate you guys joining us, and we will see you soon.